रेडियो जिंदगी 1550 AM पे वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ में ईरा एंड वी आर वंस अगेन नाउ जॉइंड बाय अटॉर्नी शाह पिराली. Attorney Shah Pirali is the founder, president and managing attorney of the Shah Pirali Law Group, which is headquartered right here in Newark, here in Bay Area, and he is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services. He has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political and the legal system in the US. उन्होंने जो लॉ ग्रुप बनाया अपना द शाह पिराली लॉ ग्रुप, वो इसीलिए बनाया ताकि ये फोकस कर सकें ऑन द कॉजेज दैट ही फील्स मोस्ट आर्डेंटली अबाउट. His law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and their clients are all over the U.S. चाहे वो यहाँ सैन फ्रांसिस्को में हैं, चाहे वो ईस्ट कोस्ट पे हों या वेस्ट कोस्ट पे हों. They have offices in the Bay Area here in Newark. They have an office in San Francisco and also in Washington D.C. You can get more information on their website, piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. And you can also give them a call on 510-742-5887. Hi, Attorney Shah. Good morning.
Good morning, Ira. Good morning to all the listeners. I hope you can hear me well. And,
yes, I can hear you fine.
Thank you so much for the next song. And today, of course, anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. And we're going to talk about different topics today. And anything specific you want to ask, Ira, or I should just jump in and talk a little bit about what's happening right now.
We should definitely. Let's get started with what's happening right now. But I also believe you wanted to speak a little bit about RFE, right?
Yes.
Right now, because no, Christmas is not the only time when you could say that this is the season. Well, this is also the season for H1s, of course.
Exactly, but the season just ended up. I think today. No, I think we are today. What date? I totally forget the dates, right? I think we are the 19th. Today was 20th.
22nd.
Today. 22nd. Oh my God!
We are on 22nd.
Yeah, it just closed. A few days ago, it just closed the H1B. So for those who have put their name in the lottery, we're going to start having an answer soon. So watch out for if you've been picked or not. And if you've been picked and you need help to file your H1B, please feel free to reach out. 510-742-5887. Now, having said that, before I go into RFE, there are a few things that is happening right now, Ira, which is, for one, I don't know if you heard back in the days in 2016, there was a school that was set as a trap by the government to trap students. It was called the UNNJ University. And it was set basically, it was not a real university, it was all a sting operation to catch people basically who were going to a school. A lot of people went through a lot of difficulties because of this. Some people couldn't even come back. But it seems now there is some kind of settlement. There was a class action filed by someone who I really respect, Ira Kostan. He's one of the best immigration lawyers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a class action. And ultimately, I think now they're coming to a settlement. I read some of the settlement proposals, and it seems the government cannot use UNNJ against anybody. So if you are a UNNJ student and you are stuck outside, once the settlement is finalized, and there will be a court ruling probably, I think, in May, if I'm not mistaken. So once this is done, they won't be able to use it against you. For all those people who have been fighting for, I'm very happy for them because this was one of those cases where I pretty much got very much involved to help the people. And another thing also happening, another case that I fought a lot in 2011, the Tri-Valley University students, right? For those people, unfortunately, this is coming back, hitting people hard, not in a as bad as UNNJ was, but it's still, for those who knew me at that time, I remember, I don't know if you watched the news, it was all over the place, and many of the students that were arrested, they came to Well, before they even got arrested, some of them were not arrested. They came and were hiding in my office. Not hiding, but they came to seek protection. And we were able to, luckily, get most people out. And it was a horrible time for many, especially Indian students. And now what is happening for those people who went to tribal university, most of them were cleared. But now suddenly we are getting hit by, well, not we, but few people calling me. When they're filing their H-1Bs, they're getting RFEs asking a lot of questions about tribal university. Mm-hmm. Everybody thought this was a done deal. Because most people were cleared, right? And they were victims. The system itself put them as victims. Of course, there are some people who will say, okay, no, they knew about things. But most people don't even know how the law works at that time than they know now. Now we have a lot of very active social media. Although at that time we still had the social media, it was not that much. People were not that much active on it. And they didn't know really what was happening. So they will rely on forums and stuff like that. And there was a push to basically arrest most of the students. And many got arrested. Luckily, I'm very proud to say that we fought for many. Most of them were able to, who were in my office on that day, were kind of safe. But now, what's happening, they're getting hit whenever they're filing something, they're getting hit with RFEs, asking them questions about basically how they want to prove that they were attending classes. But it's been 10 years, and they're asking like parking tickets, like you name it, very things that probably nobody will keep.
Parking
right?
tickets, wow, okay.
Yeah, so they're asking stuff like that, hey, prove that you went to that school. So, they're asking for basically bus tickets, stuff like that, which doesn't even make sense. But hey, at that time they were asking it, I understand, but we are talking about almost 11 years later. Nobody keeps their tickets. I don't even remember when the last time I took the bus. So it is something that people will need to fight. They will ask a lot of questions, and if you need help, let us know. 510-7425-887. That basically makes us jump into RFEs, because this is something that always unfortunately freaks people out, and I'm not really kind of holding my words on that. People get very scared when they get RFEs. Mm-hmm. I want to tell people first, RFEs are not the end of your case, okay? I repeat that. In fact, RFEs are a second chance to explain your case. So whenever you get one, you don't have to panic, okay? Number one, read it properly. And oftentimes they will put it in point form, but if they don't put it in point form, make sure you read it, you dissect it, what they're asking, and answer the questions. And if you don't know, you don't have an answer for a question, you give an explanation. So it's always good to have a lawyer answer your RFEs, because we are experienced on certain things you might not understand or answer wrongfully. If they're asking a bunch of documents, as long as you have them, you can explain. But sometimes some documents nobody have them, so you will have to explain why you don't have them. So make sure first of all that you look at the RFE. But before you even come to that, if you prepare your case, make sure you don't miss stuff, right? Many RFEs will come because people are not familiar how they're filling it, etc. But lately we have been getting this again, a bunch of RFEs. It helps USCIS by time. At the same time, it actually helps them to clear cases and avoid any future issues. So when you get an RFE, first you look at the time when it's due. Second, you look at the question they're asking. Read the whole thing and answer it like you're answering an exam paper. So it is important that you look at the RFE. Most of the time, RFEs will be answered in logical form. It's not that much the law, but you might have to apply the law, especially when they're asking questions that doesn't make sense. Then you can hit them with the law. Hey, the law doesn't say this, or the law says this, you're misquoting the law, etc. And that's where a lawyer becomes important. But usually an RFE is a factual answer. That means you really have to use logic and facts to answer. And don't panic, because there's no purpose to panic. An RFE, well, I keep saying an RFE because this is something we've been using, but it's a RFE, a request for evidence. What it is just a request. It is just like you go to court, the prosecution is asking you questions, and you answer. And when you answer, you can also basically give an explanation if you need to or not, right? So it's not a reason to panic. Now, if many times you will see RFEs will ask things that you have already provided, don't get irritated. You provide it again, and you basically say, hey, I'm providing it as a matter of courtesy because I already provided that, just to remind them you did. So these are few tips on an RFE. If you have any specific question, go ahead and I'll be listening.
No, definitely. So, but the question was when you also earlier said that they've been asking for things that people usually don't keep. What do you do in a place when you don't have the document? If it is if it is something so menial, like you said, parking tickets. Who keeps parking tickets, and how do you? And receipts, small ones maybe. What do you do in that case?
Well, if it is something like parking tickets in terms of tickets that you get as infractions, that you can get from the court. But what we are talking about here, like parking tickets, they're talking about when you park your car, if you have any tickets that they give you.
Right.
That's what they're talking about. But that, then in this case, you can tell them, I don't have any because I never kept them. It's been 11 years, and nobody can expect someone. It's irrational, and it will be an abuse of power. And that's one of the things that we use oftentimes on RFEs. It's an abuse of discretionary power to ask for certain things that probably is almost impossible for any normal person to keep those. Especially at that time it was paper. Nobody will keep those paper. They will probably just throw it away. I don't know, did you ever keep a ticket that when you park in San Francisco or you park somewhere else? Most people don't.
By mistake, right? Maybe if I kept it somewhere and forgot about it, then I would have it. Usually exactly. I would throw it away.
The only time you have it is that if you don't clean the car, it stays in the car. That's what happens to me most of the time, but when you clean the car, it's all gone, right?
Yeah.
So this is the kind of things where you have to give an explanation and mention the logic of it. And that's a very good example where there is some kind of abuse of discretionary power, and you have to mention that when you're talking to the government. Because remember, you don't have to take their things for granted. You can fight them, and that's what a good lawyer should do. I see that a lot, unfortunately, with a lot of my colleagues. They tend to just basically please the officer, which is good because hey, if you have it, you might as well just give it. But sometimes volunteering information can hurt your client. And number two, sometimes they will ask you things that doesn't make legal sense. In this case, we mentioned clearly you should not be asking this because this doesn't have any legal requirements. 90% of the stuff they will be asking are logical. So it doesn't require any analysis of the law. And if you don't have something, you explain why you don't have it. Now, many times people will say, how do I explain that? Then you can use something called a declaration, or if you have other people who know about it, they can put affidavits. But you don't have to go that far if it is a logical explanation. So just again, when it comes to RFEs, it's always good to have a lawyer to handle it, because if you miss something or you try to give something and you give the wrong thing, or you basically, some people when they panic, they will lie. You don't do that. Don't lie. It's better to say, I don't have it and fight it, than you give a lie, because I've seen cases which are very strong. They put one wrong document in it, and guess what? The entire case crumbles, because then it becomes fraud. Providing false documents to immigration or any government agency is a crime. So be careful on that. Yes, Aya.
No, definitely. I would want to take this opportunity to remind everybody that if you have any questions about immigration, call us right now. Call us right away on the studio number and speak to Attorney Shah. The number is 510-770-1550. That's 510-770-1550. You can call and speak to him about any immigration question, be it employment-based, be it family-based. The point is to get answers to your questions. 510-770-1550. 1550. Or if you'd like to get in touch with Attorney Shapirali after the show, if you want to have a detailed discussion about your case, then you can call him on 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887. The website is peerallylaw.com. PEERALLYLAW.com. Yes, Attorney Shah, let's continue.
Yes, so going back to RFEs, yes, there's no need to panic, and I've written an article about that almost 15 years ago, actually, and it had a lot of hits because a lot of people were panicking about it. And I pretty much say the same thing. If you go on my website, peerallylaw.com, I think the article's still there, and it's still good because everything I said in that is still good after 15 years, and I'm very proud of that, but it's there. So don't panic if you have an RFP, keep it an RFP. Feel free to reach out to us, 510-742-5887. I can do a consultation, or we can handle the case for you. So that's another thing that basically, if you read the article, you will have a little bit more details about some tips how to deal with an RFP. But having said that, the most important part is that it's a second chance. It's not the end of your case, so don't panic when you get it. Now, let us move on to a little bit another thing, which is very, of course, prominent, is what's happening right now with the visa bulletin. People are asking, the last visa bulletin just appeared, I think, last week. And as predicted, as I said, the EDC India is moving forward. It's moving forward fast. I think it reached December, if I'm not mistaken, 2014. And that's good news because it seems it's jumping like 3-4 months or even 5 months every month. So if it continues like this on the trend, I am expecting by the end of this year, where I think things are going to keep moving forward, we should reach 2017. Now, what happens next? Everybody's asking me to guess, and I cannot. Well, I can guess, of course, but people have to really kind of make sure that this is this is just a guess. I think it will go up to 2017, maybe 2018. But then after April, we're going to start seeing some retrogression, and that's my feeling. It might come earlier, or it might not come, but everything that goes up has to come down. So bottom line, it is important that you watch out for the visibility. So now the question is how long it will last. And that's the biggest question because many people have moved and now suddenly they find themselves with no I-140 with their current company. They can't file for an adjustment of status, which in turn causes problems for them because it's stressful. You see your dates current, but you can't do much. One of the solutions is to go back to the original company who filed your I-140 and work something out with them, a deal is that you can go back to work with them, and then they file your adjustment of status. That's totally doable. In fact, you don't even have to work for them, but when you get the green card, you have to work for them. So there are many permutations, and many people have done that. Now, having said that, the best option will be the current company files for your perm as soon as possible, and ultimately when they file for your perm, you have your I-140. You don't have to basically go and beg back company A. Now you're with company B or company C. So make sure one of the deals you make when you move to a company to start your labor certification perm as soon as possible, because if you delay, you might end up missing a chance that is coming. So this was my announcement on the visa bulletin because that's something big too. Now, today I have a lot of things, and I kind of piled them up. I kind of jumping, and I think we have 5 more minutes, right?
We have we have over 6 minutes, so don't worry. We have time.
Okay, yeah, because I have few things also. Of course, now on the H4 side, we have not gathered many signatures, so please sign on it. We are trying to protect as many people as possible. Oh, by the way, one thing which also an announcement, both Ukraine and Afghanistan now has what we call TPS. TPS is a temporary protected status, and just before I forgot, I kind of inserted that here because that's one thing we're asking for the H4 visa holders, kind of same thing. TPS is temporary protected status, which means when you file it, you can stay and get a work permit in the United States until things get better. So Afghanistan and Ukraine has it now. I wonder why they added Afghanistan now. It should have been done a long time ago. But hey, it's always even later is better than nothing, right? So better late than never. So to say that. But I just wanted to insert that. Now going back to the H4 visa holders, as you know, those who have been abused or who have not really been abused but have gone through a lot of difficult situations and are going through a divorce, they end up having to go back home unless they move to their own visa, like F1, B1, you name it. And what we are asking is that the government gives them some kind of TPS like they just did for Ukraine, and although it's kind of extreme for them, but we can get something similar to that to protect them until they get back on their feet, and then they can move to another visa. So we call, and that's what we're doing with that petition. So please help us sign on it. And I think Ira has that on her
Facebook page. Yes,
so
I do.
And then it's on change.org. You just type my name, Sharp Raleigh. Please sign the petition. So that's another thing that I wanted to say. And Ira, I think I'm not seeing the time properly. So
now we have
5 minutes.
Now we have 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay.
Yes.
So one last thing I wanted to mention also. This is about family petition because, as you know, when we had the confinement, when you confine people in one room, a lot of fights happen, right? It's normal. It's human nature, right? And ultimately, we have seen a lot of a rise in domestic violence, a rise also in divorce, etc., because of the confinement. And that's a psychological situation. Now, the question is for people who have been abused, what happens next? If you have been physically abused and you're an H4 visa holder, you can get the U visa, but you cannot get the VAWA. VAWA are for cases where even if you don't have a physical abuse, but mental abuse or sexual abuse, you can still get it, but your spouse has to be a green card holder at the time when the abuse happens. So I repeat that. The abuse has to have happened during the time he's a green card holder. So many people get upset because right now they are eligible, their husband or their wife who are abusers are eligible for the green card, but since they already left them, they are not getting the green card with them. Plus, they are not able to file VAWA, they are in limbo. So what is the solution? We don't have a solution yet. Mm-hmm. I think it is something we have to work on because while the cases are pending, they're eligible to stay, and if their husband or wife does both file the dependent petition, they are stuck. And if they cancel the H-1B on the other side, the H-4 also get canceled. So we are talking about a big mess here. One of the other things I will recommend is that I hear this a lot of times. If you are physically being abused, call the police. I know most of the time we don't want to break our relationship, etc., but it's better to call the police and get things sorted out because later on, if things doesn't work out with you and your spouse, you will end up missing a chance of a U visa. So don't get scared. If you are getting physically abused, call the police. Now, don't call the police for nothing, just for fun, because ultimately it can backfire on you. Because I've seen this too. People hear about the U visa, so anytime they're going to fight, they call the cops thinking they will get a U visa. But it doesn't work this way. You have to have physical abuse for U visa. VAWA is a different story. If your spouse is a green card holder or a citizen, and you have been abused, even verbal abuse with no cops involved, we can still get you a green card if we can document it and prove you've been abused. So don't sit on it and later on, like 5 years later, you say, no, now I'm going to put a complaint. It's not going to help you. So it's self-serving, and most cops will not entertain that, and it won't help your case. So make sure you don't sit on your rights, and then they might abuse you more when you're doing this, because if they find out, but actually, like a jiu-jitsu, right? If the more they hurt you, more we make a case here. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. So I'm talking about hurt, not physically, because physically is bad, but I'm talking about mental torture, stuff like that.
Trauma, right?
Yeah. So I was just saying that because a lot of people just sit on it and they don't do anything and later they regret it. So I think we're almost done, Ira. I just wanted to thank all the listeners. Just as an announcement, if you need help with TPS, right now we have it for Ukraine and Afghanistan. Feel free to reach out. And also, if you need help on anything immigration, filing your H-1Bs, filing your VAWA, you name it in immigration, whatever we can help, feel free to call us, 510-742-5887. Thank you so much. Anything I told you today is my opinion. You should not act or afraid to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Thank you, Ira. Thank you, listeners. We'll be back next week.
Thank you, Attorney Shah. Thank you very much for being here with us. I will talk to you next week. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Remember, you can now call Attorney Shah on the office number 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. You can also log on to the website peeralilaw.com. That's PEERALLY.com. He'll be back with us next week, same time, same place. You stay tuned to Radio Zindagi. I will see all of you tonight from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. only on Radio Zindagi. लेके आऊंगी आपके लिए Tuesday तमाशा.